Welcome to Village in Motion this Thursday, January 23rd of 2020. Folks, I'm telling you, the year is already moving along here. I'm Clint Lambert, and it's my pleasure to be the host today of Village in Motion. And I have three really nice people in the studio with me, at least 2 out of 3 anyway. But we're glad to have with us this morning, from right to left on the camera, Peggy Paterson, who is the council liaison to Medical Center at Garden Ridge. And next to her, we have somebody I don't think many of us have met, Wright, who's an assisted living manager at Garden Ridge.
Correct.
Welcome. And next to me, I have Ira Dolich. Hello.
Right.
Like Polish, but Dolich.
Sounds good. Okay.
And Ira is one of our other residents, and he is the chairman of the Medical Center Garden Ridge. And we are so glad to have all 3 of you with us.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
Good. Peggy, I'm going to start with you. And since you're the liaison from the council to the committee, why do we have you? I mean, what do you do?
Well, I try to be the conduit between the residents and the Medical Center and Garden Ridge. People come to us with questions about Medical Center, Garden Ridge. They also like to find out about our facilities and how they can really be of assistance to our residents.
Okay.
Because in our heart of hearts, when we moved to Green Spring, we came here so that we could have a safe and secure life ahead of us.
That's right.
And
it's always nice to know that across the street from independent living is Garden Ridge.
Yes. And we learn a lot at our committee from the staff at both facilities, and we are able to pass on that information at the dinner tables or wherever we are and questions come up. We can be a conduit back the other way.
Good. Peggy mentioned the staff. And Ira, I mean, I know that you're on top of those kind of numbers and everything. How many staff do we have? Do we have full staff in the clinic as well as at Garden Ridge?
Yes, now we certainly do. I mean, we're kind of excited as we now have a new practice manager in the medical center, Abraham Kaba, and I guess he's only been here about 2 or 3 weeks.
Right.
Peggy and I actually have a meeting with him to talk about things in detail tomorrow. And we also now have a permanent director of nursing at Garden Ridge, and that's Aisha Mathis.
Okay.
So those 2 key positions are filled, and pretty much all the slots there are full staff.
Great.
And we're very excited from the committee standpoint for 2020. We have yet to have our first meeting yet, but that'll happen. By the way, I'm still trying to figure out which of the 3 of us is the one that you didn't include in the introduction. And so I might be distracted. But anyway, talk about the committee for just a moment. We're 19 strong this year, and it's a very good mix. We have 7 retired nurses and 3 retired doctors to make the mix. So it should be a very lively and interesting year for discussions, especially we also bring in, not only do we have the staff members that normally are attached to our committee, but we bring in guest speakers, so to speak, virtually for every meeting.
So you have 19 residents on the committee?
That is correct.
Well, and 9 of those are healthcare providers.
That is correct. Well, were at one time.
Were, right?
Exactly.
So the other 10 get a lot of treatment, right?
They do, yes. Yes, there's a lot of self-diagnosis going on around the table. That's correct.
Very good. Don, you are new to us. First time I've met you. How long have you been here at Green Spring?
I'm going to come up on 2 years in July.
Okay.
And I've loved every minute of it. So it's a pleasure to be here, getting to know the residents, getting to know the staff. It's a wonderful environment. So I'm very happy to be here.
Good. And what is your official title?
I'm one of the assisted living managers over at Garden Ridge, part of a much bigger team. We have 3 total assisted living managers. Okay. We have 2 wellness managers who are nurses that are kind of our teammates, and they take care of the clinical side. The assisted living managers take care of everything else basically that goes on there. So it's a coordinated team that we work very, very well together, and basically can cover all the questions that the residents have or families have we work well together.
Great. So you cover the rehab portion, the assisted living, or?
No, just the assisted living, which covers all the assisted living neighborhoods and also the memory care neighborhoods on that. And that's a different business line from our skilled nursing or our short-term rehab.
Okay. How many beds do we have within assisted living?
Right now we're in a flux because there's a lot of repositioning going on. I know right now we're probably, for assisted living, we have residents over there probably anywhere between 100 and 135 depending on the day. But I believe when they're all done with the construction, I think there's going to probably be about 180 assisted living apartments that are available.
And those are individual apartments, right?
Individual apartments, correct, yes.
They have their own bathroom and
own bathroom. Some of them are studio apartments. Some of them are one-bedroom apartments, depending on what the resident is interested in. If they want to really downsize to a smaller area, or if they want to have a little bit bigger area, whether they're entertaining or just want to get out of the bedroom.
Okay. Okay. How long can someone stay in assisted living?
As long as they want. It really. The concept of Green Spring is continuing care, meaning you have your independent living, and that's a wonderful community. But when a resident starts to need a little bit more assistance, when they want a little bit of extra help, and it's going to be a little bit easier for them if they don't want to travel as far to get to the dining room, assisted living gives them that opportunity where. They have a call light that they can call the staff for any assistance with anything. If they need a little bit of help getting dressed in the morning, if they need help with their shower, or just want some supervision on that. And it could be as simple as just getting the TV fixed. I get quite a few calls during the day. My remote's not working. Can you come in and fix the TV? So, I mean, it really. It's the next step, so that you're getting a little bit more comfort. It's it's an environment where you also get a lot of interaction with the staff and other residents. Everybody's very close. Most people, if they're with their apartment, they might be maybe a hall and a half away from the dining room.
Right.
Maybe a couple halls away from our main activity room in Dogwood Commons, where a lot of the larger activities go. So everything's a little bit closer together. That makes it a little bit easier for the residents to travel around and see more of the residents on that. So.
If somebody's over in assisted living, can they then come back into an independent?
Oh, absolutely. I tell people all the time that Garden Ridge really is just one of the other neighborhoods in Green Spring. There's Village Square, Hampton Place, Hunter's Crossing, and then Garden Ridge. It's not. It's connected by a bridge, just like all of the campus is. You can take the shuttle stops there. So, we encourage residents that, if they're coming over to assisted living, maybe for a little bit more assistance, during their day, come over to Fireside for dinner. Come join the clubs or stay with the clubs that they were, originally over here in independent living. So it's not a separate place. It's just another neighborhood in Garden Ridge, and that's how we feel over there.
Okay. And so those of us in independent living can go over and partake of the food?
Oh, absolutely. Come on over. You can come have lunch with me anytime you want.
I eat up there at least once a week. RC4. I made some friends over there, and we have a standing dinner engagement every Monday.
Nice.
So the food is very, very good. And I also want to make another little comment on what Don said about activities. A lot of people think maybe they're isolated over in Garden Ridge, but there is an extraordinarily full daily and weekly and monthly calendar for our activities over at Garden Ridge, including, and I believe it is going to be tomorrow, I think they're having a Chinese New Year.
Yes, absolutely.
Lots of food. I mean, always good food.
It's always food.
So I have a separate Chinese New Year thing.
Wonderful.
And they'll be serving the egg rolls, and they may have wings. So I'm not sure that's part of Chinese New Year. But anyway, a lot of good food, and they'll have a lot of entertainment. So it's
nice.
good.
Very nice. Ari, you have some personal knowledge of someone being at Garden Ridge, right?
That's correct, yes. My wife was a resident there for 3 years, and I basically went over to Garden Ridge every day for 3 years, more or less. But I think of equal importance was I got very involved with the activities group in terms of volunteering programs. And that's another thing about watching the residents in assisted living, and some of them even from skilled nursing come down to programs. There's a very high level of involvement. And I know Peggy will agree with me this. We attend the monthly resident meeting.
Yes, we
they
do.
are extremely lively, extremely lively. If you
Tremendous.
think the questioning at Coffee with the Execs is exciting, you have to go to the resident meeting there. It's
Okay.
very, very good.
So often do they have those meetings, Peggy?
Once a month, the first Wednesday of each month in the afternoon at 2 o'clock. And the staff is there with the residents. And, you know, the staff amazes me. I sit there and watch them, and there's this orchestra going on between the staff. They have head motions. I mean, they communicate in a whole different language, but they know exactly which resident needs a little bit of extra help, which resident really needs to or wants to go back to their apartment. I mean, it's amazing how they, I don't know whether there's a class they teach or they just know their residents
Right.
that well.
A lot of that is residents. When a resident moves into assisted living, we do a holistic assessment and really get to know the residents through them,
Right.
through their families. You know, what have they done in the past? What did they, you know, enjoy, you know, prior to moving to Green Spring? What have they enjoyed over here in independent living? You know, learn their history. Where were they born? Then we do all the care needs. So the staff have these care plans that they're well aware of. You know, the daily routines of the residents. You know, I like to get up at 7 o'clock because I want to be at breakfast at 8. So well, we document that, and our care staff is aware of that. And then, you know, that can change day to day. Sometimes, you know, hey, I was up late, you know, watching Johnny Carson or whatever, or I guess Johnny Carson, Jay Leno. I dated myself there. And then, you know, they'll say, hey, well, today I want to get up at 8 o'clock.
Yes.
You know, and we respect that, and you know, we're there to assist.
Right.
You know, we love the residents to have their independence, but just let us know when they need a little bit extra assistance on that. So they do. The staff truly get to know the residents, know that, you know, this resident likes to, you know, come to this activity, but then wants to go back and take a little nap before lunch. So it's a great combination on that, and you know, a lot of times we're very happy with that.
Very good, very good. You and your committee also are responsible for looking at what goes on in the clinic, right?
In the medical center, yes.
In the medical center.
So I don't know how, well, I would approach it this way. I've often thought about this. My second year as the chair. And if I take a helicopter view of what we do, what any resident council committee does, I'd have to say its primary function of any of the resident council committees is to build a communication bridge between the areas of responsibility for the individual committee and the residents' concerns and needs, and to have a forum by which they can be presented to those areas of responsibility. But it's a two-way street.
Right.
And we need to see what kind of actions are taken by those, let's say the medical center or Garden Ridge, to address those needs and concerns. So the bottom line is pure communications.
Right.
And as a part of that, we had tried very hard last year to develop some sort of metrics or get some sort of metrics, which we are now getting. You know, the old adage, you can't manage what you can't measure.
Right.
So we're trying to do that, and we've had some successes, and we hope to build on that.
Very good.
The numbers are important because that gives you the transparency that you need so that people are getting the story. And I don't mean story in the storytelling time, but what really the picture is. And I think the most important thing, and here again, Peggy and I talk about this a lot, to try to prevent the myths from happening in the first place. That is really a goal. Very difficult, as you know.
Yeah. Well, we have that connection also because our physicians in the medical center go over to Garden Ridge, right?
That is correct. At least 2 of them go over, once a week, or maybe more than once, excuse me, several times a week. I'm not sure what depends on their schedule here with patients. And you know, we have 4 physicians in the medical center
Right.
and 1 podiatrist, and that's fully staffed up to this point.
Okay.
So, yeah, they do go over and then provide those services to the residents. I don't know, do you know this schedule?
I'm not sure of their schedule, but not only do the doctors go over there, but we also have nurse practitioners
Thank you.
that
Correct.
go over there. And I believe there's at least 1 nurse practitioner there every day that do rounds, check on residents. You know, the nursing staff there has, you know, given them a call and said, could you please, you know, this resident, you know, would like a visit.
Right.
So there's quite a bit of, you know, the medical center presence over in Garden Ridge, and it's a, you know, well-oiled machine in terms of, you know, our nursing staff coordinating and communicating with the medical center when they come over.
Does a resident that lives in independent living need to be assessed in the medical clinic before they go over to Garden Ridge, or they go straight to Garden Ridge?
No, we do. There's a lot of different assessments. The doctors in the medical center or their personal physician, if they're not on campus, they will need to go through some medical tests and to get a physical to make sure that, you know, clinically that it's an appropriate, you know, situation that we can provide the clinical care that they need while they're over in Garden Ridge. And then we do an assessment just to make sure we want to look at, you know, how they're moving around. You know, we assess, you know, what type of assistance they're going to need. In other words, if they need help maybe dressing their lower body, but they're fine with their upper body, so that our care staff knows what type of assistance to provide. And then we revisit that. So it's you know, we talk about their care plan as being a living document.
Right.
It's not set in stone, and then we review it a year later. In other words, it could change day to day depending on their needs that day in the future. So there's a lot that goes into the assessments to make sure that it's you know, it's going to be a beneficial move for that resident.
So if a resident needs assisted living and wants to go into assisted living, they are assessed in regards to the level of assisted living, or?
Yes. So it depends on what assistance they need. If it's just a little bit, they would come in at a lower package level.
Okay.
If they need much more assistance, and then I said we review that as they come in. So they'll come in with an initial package level of what we're going to be able to provide for them, what they would like to do. We do a 30-day assessment right away because that gives them time to adjust. They get to know their environment. We get to know their daily routine. We match it up. And then there's regular assessments throughout the year. There's a 6-month one, then we do another 30-day one, and then there's an annual one where we get the team together and just make sure, are we providing the support that we, you know, that resident needs, you know, moving forward on that. And, you know, that we usually, you know, the programming will be in that that meeting, family, the resident, nursing, whatever aspect of Garden Ridge is involved in that resident's life. You know, they provide input into that assessment to make sure, again, that we are providing the right amount of assistance, because we're trying to supplement their independence. You know, we want these residents to be able to, you know, be active, do as much as they can, but just give them that little bit of extra help when they need it for safety and for comfort.
Okay, very good. Yes, Peggy.
You know, growing old isn't easy. And because we want to think of ourselves as still being young, whether it's young in age or young in capability of doing things.
Right.
But the more we learn, the more we take advantage of what education there is that's being offered by Garden Ridge
Right.
or the medical center or whatever, the better we are going to feel and be able to handle our growing older.
Yeah.
Garden Ridge Memory Care just had a seminar yesterday morning and the day before in the evening, and it was so informative. The speaker spoke of how our brain is set up, the different sections of our brain, how you can work around a section that's not working that well, in communicating with another section of your brain to let people know what you're thinking and wanting. And these are all things that we as independent living residents need to really take advantage of, because growing old won't be as scary to us if we know what's happening.
Yeah. That's one of those the memory support forums, right, that they had the meeting for? And I
Yes.
understand they have 3 more coming up. So people need to, yeah.
I'm not real sure what their schedule
The
is.
speaker was Erickson's director of
Yes.
memory
Right.
care, so
Yeah.
you got it from the top. But as
Right.
Peggy said, her remarks really opened my eyes about a lot of things I thought I knew about, but I really didn't about
Exactly.
the brain. So it was very informative and worthwhile.
Good. So,
Just from a pure informational standpoint, even if
Right.
you think
Yeah.
you'll never be exposed to that, it was a very, very worthwhile event.
so we need to be on the outlook for
Yes.
when the next ones
I
come.
think so.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if you have time, but I was just thinking about things at Garden Ridge that many people are not aware of. Has nothing to do with the overall picture, but tucked away in Dogwood Commons is a 20-seat little theater with a big screen TV, every audio-visual device you can think of, and theater seats, and a popcorn machine.
Oh, hey, that's
Now,
great.
I've gone over there once or twice to practice some of the things I do on their unit there, but there were family members in there with their loved ones, and they've brought over some DVDs, and they're sitting there with their feet propped up.
Oh,
and
that's
watching,
great.
Bonnie, what's it? I was the old Andy Griffith show. That was the one I
Okay.
saw. So that's available, but I was really surprised. Just tucked away in the corner somewhere,
Interesting.
behind 2 doors. Yep.
Right. Well, it's amazing all the different things we have here within 54 acres. I mean,
Yes.
Absolutely.
one of the things we've kind of glossed over the medical clinic, though, with what goes on there. Are there problems there now? Have they resolved all the different issues that they've had over time? Or staffing issues?
I think in general, I have to say yes, they are, but it's always an uphill slope because always something else comes
Pops
up.
up.
And of course, now with Abraham in place now, I think we will try to reflect on those and move forward. Most of them, though, are sort of communication issues. Like people
Right.
will say they call and they don't get a call back or they don't get their information. But medical practices today, you know, are extremely complicated.
Yes.
And the information technology is still not as perfect as I think anybody would like, inside or outside.
right.
So those are the issues that I think they're directing attention to.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
When we have a physician going over to Garden Ridge from the medical center, who covers the caseload in the medical center?
well, that schedule, that would be part of Abraham's responsibilities to make sure that they had that coverage.
Okay.
Okay. Now, of course, you know, there are contract specialists who come into the so-called medical suite over in Town Center.
Right.
So that's another outlet for residents here who cannot travel, have difficulty traveling to outside physicians.
Okay. Yeah.
And one of the things about scheduling too is, and we heard this at the resident meeting at Garden Ridge. Well, the podiatrist is coming over, but not coming at a time that works for me. I want to go to thus and so. So that was an area that scheduling in the medical center worked with the staff at Garden Ridge
great.
to make sure that the podiatrist came at a time that
Right.
was more convenient. I mean, when we make our appointments
Right.
we make them for our convenience.
Right. Exactly.
So they tried to do that sort of thing with the residents at Garden Ridge as well.
Tremendous. Speaking of physicians, if you have an outside physician as your primary, and you go to Garden Ridge, can the outside physician still come over?
I can't answer that question.
I can't answer it either.
I
Can you,
cannot. I've
Don?
never been.
I'm not aware of that. I believe for outside physicians, that's where the resident would travel
Yeah.
Okay.
either with family or they would with an escort from, they would set up an escort. We would set up the transportation.
Okay.
Our nursing staff would set up the transportation, set up an escort if needed, and then provide the medical documents, for that. And then what they came back with, if there was any new orders, changes in medication, or things like that, we would put that into their clinical record.
Okay. I'm retired military, among other things. And at one point in time, I heard that if you were retired military, you couldn't get medications in from the military because of the way they did the medications. Do you know, has that changed now where you can bring in meds from the outside?
To assisted living?
Right.
I believe, and again, I'd have to double check on this, but I believe residents can have their medication delivered, and then our nursing staff would put that into the medicine carts or into the med cabinets in the residence room, and they would have it. So there are some residents that get their medication from outside and don't use the Garden Ridge Omnicare connection.
So that would explain it.
Yes.
So if somebody can pick up your
Yes.
meds from Fort Belvoir or whatever, then they would potentially put them
Yes.
in. Okay. What kind of things should we know as residents if we're thinking about eventually going over to Garden Ridge? Let's say we've been here for a couple of years. We're saying our health is deteriorating. What kind of things should we be conscious of?
I think one thing we should be conscious of is Garden Ridge will give you a tour of Garden Ridge. You can contact the admissions office and they will take you through the whole building.
Tremendous.
So you can see exactly what is there.
Okay.
They have material that they can give to you to take home and think about, and then call back and say, I have a question about thus and so.
Okay.
That's one thing that came to mind right away.
Right. Yeah, our admissions team is very knowledgeable. Not only can you come in and get a tour of the building and see the different neighborhoods within Garden Ridge, but as I said, they have a lot of information in terms of what really assisted living has to offer. In other words, this is the programming that we offer. There's 3 meals a day that are provided with assisted living. Not only that, but there's snacks that you can get throughout the day. What the communication is back and forth with the medical center to make sure that now that you're in Garden Ridge, that you still have access to the medical center and the doctors there. So there's a lot. The tour is there, but there's also a tremendous amount of information they have of just what assisted living entails. In other words, what you're responsible to bring over. We talk a lot about assisted living is basically an apartment. So you're going to bring everything that you would normally have for an apartment. You just don't have to worry about meals. That's one of the things. We provide the meal service. We provide laundry service so that we're able to do that. There's housekeeping. All of that is included in here. And there's a lot more. But so that's something that a resident would, if they have any interest, or the family, they should absolutely get in touch with our admissions office and not only get a tour, which is you get to see the wonderful neighborhoods, but to get the information to help them make that decision.
Great.
And then usually what would happen is if they do have an interest, then the team from assisted living, one of the assisted living managers and one of the wellness managers, we then go and visit and we do our assessment, and basically also provide them information for a possible move.
Yes, Peggy.
If you don't want to take that big a step, making an appointment, or what we've just been talking about, you can go on the Village Bridge, and the Garden Ridge newsletter, once a month newsletter is there. The activities calendar, the menu is there. So you can start out with a little bite and see, well, that doesn't sound so bad. Gee, that's kind of interesting information. Maybe I'll take the next small step. Maybe I'll make an appointment. Maybe I'll have a friend from our committee just walk over with me and introduce me to a couple people. And you don't have to do it in one big chunk.
Well, that sounds absolutely tremendous. Really sounds good. We got a minute left. Any last thoughts that you have?
That's all in one full minute time. So I've been here just a week shy of 3 years, and I've had a really good opportunity to understand about independent living and Garden Ridge, and I think we're growing closer together. I would have to say first here there was a tremendous psychological separation between independent living and Garden Ridge. And with improved communication and a lot of the things that Don has talked about, in fact, that is one of the main reasons we brought Don along with us to try and get some of those detailed pieces of information out. That gulf, I think, is being made smaller. It's being bridged.
Good.
And it's very important because it is overall that continuum of care. As Peggy said, none of us want to grow older, but we are growing
That's
older,
right.
both
Every day.
mentally and physically.
Yes.
And if you can keep that balance, satisfactory, those facilities are in place here for you to use it. I think that's what I can say. But you have to have some skin in the game. You have to go out and look for some of it
Yes,
once in a
yes.
while.
Very good. Peggy, anything?
I can't think of anything off the top,
Okay.
but, just ask. Don't be afraid to step out. I used to be afraid to come here and talk to talk to the moderator. But now listen to me. I just float.
Well, Don, I don't think I need to ask you if there's anything else because you have done a wonderful job today.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here, and thank you for inviting me.
Very good, very good. Glad to have you with us. And Ira and Peggy as well. Thank you for being with us today.
Pleasure.
And come back more often, okay?